Welcome to your 20-minute podcast with David Brower, brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/your 20-minute podcast. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. Now, here's your host, David Brower.
Thanks, Allan. This is David Brower with your 20-minute podcast. Our special guest today is Larry Forletta, investigative security consultant. Larry's comprised a team of experts with over 100 years of combined investigative experience, and many of their team members have been trained entire law enforcement agencies, government officials, members of the U.S. military, on and on and on. Quite an operation you have there, sir. How are you, Larry?
Thanks, David, and thanks for inviting me to your show today.
You bet. Good to have you here. Some of the things that you, first of all, you provide a private investigator service, and I assume you have clients all over the country, all over the world. How does your business spread out?
Yeah, well, our business is literally throughout the United States, and we have some overseas components that we've been involved with. A lot of it comes back through my background. As you know, I'm a former DEA agent, Drug Enforcement Administration, and my law enforcement background goes with as a DEA agent, and of course my experience and training with the Maryland State Police. So, with a combined total time of close to 30 years of training and experience. Fantastic.
So, how long has your business been rolling?
Now, my business is about 12 years old now.
Okay.
We started in October of 2006 when I retired from DEA, and we've been going pretty steady ever since.
Good for you. Good for you. And folks, there's a lot of things here, and you can look on the website. It's fcisllc.com. And everything from due diligence and surveillance, handwriting analysis, intellectual property protection, workplace investigations, drug investigations, polygraph exams, background checks, skip tracing, holy buckets, document analysis, law enforcement, administrative procedures, and child custody. I mean, you got a lot of bases covered here for people's needs.
Yeah, we purposely did that because we wanted to become like a one-stop shop where we can offer a variety of services through a collective team effort. Obviously, nobody can ever be successful without the group that you work with, and that's been my motto since I started my law enforcement career, working with others. And once you've worked with others, then you become successful, and that's how a lot of our investigations become successful, because of working with others.
Well, and I would think that the other people that you are teamed with, first and foremost, have to be on the same page with you as far as how things are conducted and operated and all that, but it has to be like the highest integrity possible for this kind of work.
Oh, there's no question. And the group that I associate myself with are all former professionals, whether they were in law enforcement or the military or government. So yeah, we strive on integrity. That's the key to our success, because without integrity, you have no investigation.
Absolutely right. Yeah, you have, and to have this going for 12 years, just in and of itself, speaks highly of your integrity and your ability to help folks out. One of the things that we hear about way too much is security in schools and school shootings and those kinds of things, risk assessment. You get involved in those kinds of conversations?
Yes, I have. And I've actually done some risk assessments for some local school districts some time ago, as well as some other areas where, we have come in and based our recommendations on security measures that should be in place. So yeah, we do that on a consistent basis.
Nice. And you're able to do that anywhere in the country, really?
Yeah, I mean, basically, we can go anywhere where the client has a need.
Okay.
So we would, we definitely travel throughout the U.S. And work with, depending on the type of case that we're investigating. I mean, I have a substantial network of professionals throughout the country and overseas. And again, that goes back to my background and my career of having those type of contacts. And a lot of times it's easier just to pick up the phone and call somebody without having to find out somebody through the internet.
Yeah, absolutely. It's to recreate the wheel is that's just not productive for sure. And unfortunately, that's what a lot of us do. When you're talking with schools, do you talk with school districts, individual schools? How does that work?
Well, I talk to both school districts and individual schools. At one point in time, I did a in-service presentation for a school district back when the unfortunate incident of Columbine.
That's just down the road from me.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's
yep.
where you're at. Okay. Well, yeah, and so when you look at the big picture from Columbine, yes, some things have changed, but a lot has not, and we're still seeing the unfortunate killing of our children throughout the country.
Absolutely. In fact, I saw something on the news just a couple of nights ago where they were talking about, I think we might be up to 20 school shootings this year. It's impossible to keep track of, unfortunately. But one of the things they said was, as big as Columbine was and still is in the hearts and minds of many people here in Colorado and associated with that school and those people, in today's environment, it wouldn't even make the top 10.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
That's terrifying.
It is terrifying, and I think we're doing a lot of talking about it, but we need to take action. Not tomorrow, but yesterday, because now that the kids are going to be getting out of school, it's going to be up to the administrators, along with the community and law enforcement and government, to have a plan in place when they come back from their summer break. Some schools have already taken those issues, but again, we need to have a comprehensive plan to make sure that we ensure the safety of our kids and we prevent these type of issues, not reacting, but be proactive in preventing it. And that's one of the problems, and that's usually one of the problems with crime in general. Law enforcement is a reactive instead of a proactive. And the best description I can tell you is that the Israelis, who I think should be the model of security, have probably one of the best systems in the world. And they are proactive versus reactive. They have safe schools. They have one of the safest airlines, if not the most safest airline in the world. And so that tells you about the effort, because they were put in a position, quite a while ago to protect themselves. And you can see that it works.
And when you look at,
but we have to take those types of measures.
When you look at that, wouldn't you think, wow, there's a blueprint. Why can't we just do that, or even a moderation of that, or even put your toe in the water and work towards that or something, instead of just, it seems like there's so much, gosh, I don't want to be critical, but it really seems like there's so much talk and very little action. As a parent and grandparent, I find it very frustrating.
Well, yeah, I mean, most of the people that I talk to that are parents or grandparents are frustrated because, in fact, I just had a conversation with a parent last night about security measures being taken at one of the local school districts, and they're still confused in what is the best way to make the system work and prevent anything from happening. But I think sometimes we focus on the wrong reasons instead of for the right reasons, and you should be looking at the individuals versus the system itself, because the individuals are the ones that cause the problem.
Absolutely. And the individuals seem to be so different in eco-socioeconomic, education, mental health, young, not so old. I mean, there doesn't seem to be a cookie-cutter approach to these kids.
Well, I think the most evident part of the whole thing is it's usually the students themselves that are committing the crimes. It's not people from the outside, as I think that's what the security is preparing for. The first start that I always recommend is metal detectors. You can have all the nice printout badges to put on visitors and all that, but that really doesn't mean anything to me. It's prevention before somebody walks through that door. And it's a known fact that the killers are the kids
Absolutely
themselves.
right. And even for those of us who are so naive about this stuff, that's one of the things that's very obvious is it's, for the most part, it's the kids themselves. In the school shootings, at least, there certainly are others. It is a whole different conversation. And you would think that metal detectors alone could be a deterrent, no way I'm going in there.
Well, that is a big deterrent. But, I think everybody looks at the cost involved in putting any kind of security measure in there. But, how do you value somebody's life?
Well, that's right.
And then how do you value some child's life?
Or multiple.
And it is multiple children that are being murdered. So we have to really prioritize, in my view, as one of the number one security measures that has to be done within this country. And I think we have to look at not only at the government, but, they consider this a local matter, but, there should be more government assistance being provided, whether they're in forms of grants, because a lot of our school districts are financially strapped. In Pennsylvania, we are. In Florida, they're not. So, the state of Florida can provide some funding to all the school districts. I know they're going to provide close to $500,000. But when you look at Pennsylvania, it doesn't have that type of income and revenue to support what Florida's doing.
So do you see in the future in places like Pennsylvania, and there's certainly a lot of states like that are, you see every day the teachers with their red T-shirts on, just trying to make a living so they don't have to have 3 or 4 jobs or don't have to kick in $500 or $600 a year out of their own pocket to help with these kids. When you see these strapped states and strapped communities, do you see a grassroots kind of thing building anywhere?
Well, I guess that's another day because there's the politics, involved in that. And so we don't want to use the security as a platform for politics. We need to use security as a platform for the safety of our children. And of course, obviously we want to see our teachers, taken care of. They do a great job, and you can just see just what happened recently when the teacher, became a human shield and ran after the person in the school and shot him in Indiana. And, he saved a lot of kids.
Absolutely. And a lot of schools, or at least, again, this is perception, but it seems like a lot of schools have resource officers that are purportedly trained and equipped to help schools with these kinds of things. And you hear some of them being very successful and some of them not. Are those kinds of positions, are they valuable?
Oh, listen, there's no doubt that they are extremely valuable. Training, experience, all matters. Unfortunately, what we saw happen in Florida was the law enforcement officer who, in my view, and a lot of others, was a coward. He turned tail and ran. But there's other officers there, and 99% of them would have ran toward the problem and not hide from the problem. So, training experience does matter. I do believe in the resource officer program. I think we need more of them in our schools, and I think this is where the grants and the government grants can come into play by putting professionals. We can't afford to put 65 or 68-year-old security guards in schools and expect them to react. We have a lot of law enforcement people that are retired, still young enough, some of them in their late 40s, early 50s, to participate in these programs that they could be hired. But if you want the professional, then you have to have the professional that's not only trained, but well fit to perform the job.
Well, and that goes back to a lot of things. That goes back to training, of course, physical, healthy capabilities, mental capabilities. I mean, you really have to have the whole package to have a good opportunity for success with these folks, don't you?
There's no question about it. And I think what needs to be done in the school district collectively, because schools have psychologists, they have counselors, they have student boards, and so those would all be the basis of information collectively with law enforcement combined. And, the kids complaining about one kid who's a problem in a classroom, or he's talking about killing somebody, or he's talking about this or shooting somebody. I mean, you have to develop almost like an intelligence network within that group or a database and start targeting or at least focusing on individuals who may be those problems. The shooting in Florida is a prime example. Everyone, from law enforcement to the education facilities to mental health, dropped the ball. There's no question about it. But if we collectively gather information, focus on the individual and that individual's problem, that's how you can start preventing these types of horrendous actions by these individuals.
And I would think that one of the starting points of that, of creating a database or gaining information, is, of course, building the courage of these young kids to be able to share this information without feeling like a rat. I'm going to rat that kid out. And that comes back to parents being able to sit down and have a conversation and give them confidence about, if you hear this kind of stuff, you got to talk to somebody.
I agree 100%. And, the kids with modern technology today, whether they're on Instagram, Facebook, or whatever social media outlet, they know who the problem people are.
Absolutely.
And if they go back and they don't want to tell their teacher, they should tell their parents, or the parents should open a dialogue with their children.
Yeah.
Because it all starts at home.
Absolutely. And you got to create a safe environment to where that child feels comfortable in sharing a very uncomfortable piece of information.
There's no doubt about that. And I think that's where, you have school boards, you have a variety of methods to get back to the officials in that school district. And that's the other important reason for having resource officers at the school level, because a lot of kids then begin to trust the school resources officers and tell them without worrying to have any information disclosed about them.
Absolutely right.
So, and that's why it's so important to have professionally trained resource officers in the schools.
Boy, we got a long way to go, don't we?
Yeah, we do. But I think I think we're making some progress. There's a lot more that has to be done.
Yeah.
But I think we have to collectively do that as a team concept, just like what I've been doing for over 40 years now.
Right. Exactly right.
That's how you become successful.
Well, and yeah, exactly right. And you built a team. That's why you're successful. And we have to encourage other folks to build teams to help keep our kids safe. So, Larry, this has been a real treat talking to you. Larry Forletta, and you can call him for a free consultation at 877-874-9394. That's 877-874-9394. Or drop him an email at larry.forletta, that's Forletta, at fcisllc.com. And, of course, that's the website as well, fcisllc.com. Larry, this has been so informative and educational, and I really appreciate you taking your time and sharing your expertise with us.
Your 20-minute podcast with David Brower has been brought to you by Audible. You can listen to any of David's podcasts anywhere podcasts can be found, including iHeartRadio, the Spotify mobile app, and at davidbrowervo.com/your20-minute podcast. Until next time, thanks for listening.